It's July 4th, 2020. I'd like to share my garden with you. My garden is in the center of Pennsylvania, center of Center County, and this is zone 6A here. In 2017, we installed this bed, that bed that's used for compost, these beds here, clear down to this bed. So we installed those beds as a test to see how well they worked for garden and how well they worked for me and my health issues. And they went really well. So in 2018 we added the corner bed. And then this spring, just a few months ago, we added all the other beds, all 11 extra beds. So this is all pretty new to me and pretty excited about it. It's working out really well. I don't have to bend over as much or kneel. Makes weeding a lot easier and harvesting, mulching, and planting. So I'm pretty excited about it. I guess I'll just go around and tell you what we did here. Well, to start with, in these beds, these are actually stock tanks. They're plastic. Used to raise fish in, I'm told by the person I bought them from off of CraigsList. You can also find them at similar, not exactly the same model, but similar models off of CraigsList, or off of Tractor Supply Company and stores like that, agricultural supply stores. And what we did was we had pieces of wood, trees that we got from our property. We live on wooded acres, so down trees, and we put those in the bottom. And then we filled the rest with about 50-50 compost and topsoil. And I use pine shavings for mulch. Some people say not to do that. I've been doing it for many years here and at our previous house, and I've never had a problem with it. I don't mix it into the soil, it's just laying on top. So it works really well for me. So that's the beds. And then just a few weeks ago, I added these trellises with T-posts and cattle panels that are 50-foot wide, 16-foot long. I did bury the ends a little bit just to make them a little bit lower so I can reach them better, reach the tops of them better. And I'm growing, this year I'm growing rattlesnake. Well, I'll go through what I'm growing on them, but I'm growing vining things on them this year, and then next year I'll grow different vining things on them. Alright, so the front of these two beds, the entrance beds, are perennial herbs. Got lavender and French tarragon and garlic chives and common chives, excuse me, and lavender that was not very happy about the move. I took some cuttings, so hopefully I can replace it. And rosemary and white sage, which 2 days ago started dying. I don't know why that is. That's a new plant for me. Guess it's not happy, but the other one, I have planted 2 of those, and the other one's doing fine. Right there, that one's doing okay. Alright, so I guess let's go around and see what we have here. These are an heirloom variety of pole beans called rattlesnake, and I got something funky going on with them. That's the first time I've ever had any sort of bean diseases, and I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. Maybe bacterial wilt, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure that out. But hopefully it's not too detrimental. And I did plant nasturtiums along the base of all 4 parts where the trellises meet the soil. And they were really old nasturtium seeds, and only a few of them germinated. I didn't get any that germinated in this bed. And here I had brand new, what's it called, Bush Lake 274 bush beans, and I only got 4 plants that germinated, and I even sowed them twice because they didn't germinate the first time, so I sowed more and they did not germinate. I think it might be because the mulch, even though I had it in there thinly, when it rains or I water, it fills the hole, and I keep unfilling them, but I don't know, maybe that's the problem, I'm not sure. It was definitely warm enough because I had to wait. We didn't get these beds installed until early May, and I didn't get my fences installed until, first, second week of June, so these beds didn't get planted until early June. Anyway, so this is a bush delicata. I'm growing it in a cage, tomato cage that I just made a few days ago. These are paste tomatoes. They're a variety called San Remo. They're also called Pompeii. Two different names for the same variety. I've grown those many years ago at our old house, and really, really love the flavor of them. So I'm growing them again, and I just made these cages a few days ago for them because when I first started these seeds, I was thinking that they were short, determinate plants, and then I was reading up on them to refresh my memory, and here I realized that they're actually tall, indeterminate plants. So I wasn't originally going to put cages on them, but when I realized they were tall, I had to make some new cages for them. Here we got some common thyme. I wanted to check and see how much rain we got the other day. Not much. Got some rain yesterday, but it's not even in my rain gauge. Common thyme, lemon verbena. I got 4 kinds of peas. We got some Progress number 9 shelling peas, Cascadia snap peas. In the back I have, here's some. These are golden sweet snow peas. And in the back on that side I have what are they called? Mammoth melting, I think it's called. Mammoth melting snow pea. I think I got that right. Might be wrong. So 4 kinds of peas there, and I need to harvest the shelling peas yet, but the rest of them I think I'm done harvesting. I'm going to let them go to seed so I can collect seed to plant and to share. And then these are the same peas again. I just planted them later than the first set. These are just some flowers I have within the rocks that die down to the ground during the summertime, and I just put the rocks around to remind me that they're there, and just some garden ornaments that I just have there for now because I didn't know what else to plant. And somebody told me that you can grow tomato plants direct from seed, which I never heard of doing that in Pennsylvania. So I'm experimenting with it this year. I actually planted some back there. I can see there's raindrops on it right now. But I actually planted one back there called Matina. It's one of my favorite tomato varieties, an heirloom variety. And we'll find out if I get any fruit off of it this year. It's supposed to be 58 days from transplant to fruit. And I planted that in early June once the soil was nice and warm. So we'll see how that goes. These onions are my favorite onion variety called Elsa Craig Exhibition. That's Elsa Craig Exhibition. I stuttered on that. Really love that onion variety. I highly recommend it. And I can see that they're bulbing up and the tops are starting to tip, so it won't be long before those will be harvested. In this bed I have carrots, bunching onions, and garlic. The carrots, I did 3 different sowings of them, so they're different ages. Those are Nantes half long. In the back I have 2 different types of garlic, Siberian, and this is a variety that somebody gave me a bulb to eat, and I like the flavor of it, so I planted it. And then I harvested those last year, and then I planted them again last fall. These onions are called blushing bunch, type of bunching onion. And I have 3 different sowings of those in there too. And then these are more garlic that I'm going to harvest today. This is German white stiffneck, and this is another variety of garlic that somebody gave me a bulb to eat, and I liked the flavor of the couple cloves I ate, so I planted the rest harvested those and then planted them again last fall. In the front of the bed I had 4 varieties of spinach. I was comparing spinaches, and this was my favorite one. This is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Gigante de Inverno. It translates to Giant of Winter, and I really like the flavor of this one. It did bolt first, and I pulled those plants and sowed some more, but right now I'm letting what's in here now go to seed so I can collect seed from it. And then I pulled the other 3 varieties. I wasn't as impressed with those as I was with the flavor of this one. And then these carrots are a different variety of carrots called Mokum. Years ago at my old house I used to grow a variety called Nelson that I really, really loved, and I can't find that variety anymore. Apparently they stopped producing it, and somebody, or at least the website that I got these from, said that it was very close to Nelson, so I'm trying that variety for the first time, so I'll find out. I pulled the little gem lettuce I was growing that I really like, and I was comparing, and I sowed this later, I was comparing it to this. This is Dragoon lettuce, and it's still, I tasted some yesterday, it still tastes pretty good, but then too I sowed it really late. So we'll be eating that in the next few days before it starts to bolt. This is the bed that I've been putting compost in there, and it's full of weeds. I see I have a volunteer tomato plant in there. I don't turn it, which I should be doing, but it's hard to work with, so later this year I'll be taking all this out and putting it in a normal compost pile and then filling this with wood and soil and compost, and that will be a flower bed next year. This bed is part of the trellis beds, so this is beans and squash, and a summer savory too. These beans are black turtle black bean. I did plant nasturtiums in here. They were old seed, and I only got 2 of them that germinated. Unfortunately, these are peach melba nasturtium. But they were old seed. I thought they would do better, but they didn't. They were too old. And that's a spaghetti squash. And I've never grown spaghetti squash before, but I have a feeling it's going to take over this trellis. On the other side of the trellis, I'm growing Jester delicata squash. I had to sow them 2 different times because this hole didn't germinate, so I had to sow them again, so they're 2 different ages. And I had a different variety of nasturtiums here, and they didn't germinate at all. But I guess that's to be expected since they were 9-year-old seed. This area is a type of soybean called, shoot, I don't remember how to pronounce it. It's a really long name, starts with a K. I just bought the seed this year and had pretty poor germination. And I went back and I sowed them again, and still, I did get some more to germinate, but it's still pretty poor germination, so I'm kind of bummed about that. Another summer savory, since I had an extra plant that I started from seed. More Alsa Craig exhibition onions. Really do love those onions. In the back here I have Broad London leeks. I started those really, really late. I almost didn't start them, and I thought, got a little bit of room in the garden, might as well, just to experiment, because that's a new crop for me, learning how to do that. And this area back here is where eventually I'm going to build a garden shed, and maybe with the attached greenhouse, I'm not sure, and I'll have my compost pile back here in the future. But we just built this house in 2013, and this was just bare soil, and this is just filled now with all kinds of vegetation that worked its way in from the woods. And I'm working on trying to kill some of it, and I need more cardboard so I can continue this. Alrighty, so where were we? Let's go over here. Got Yukon Gold potatoes. I didn't get them healed until later than I should have, but we just dumped some compost in on them within the last week. And I saw yesterday, I don't see it now, there was a flower on it, so they're starting to flower. In the future I'm going to build a bench, but right now I just have some old chairs there, but there'll be a bench there. That area, it's on the north side of the house, gets some shade, so it'll be a nice place to sit in the heat of the summer, to sit out here and relax. These are more Yukon Gold potatoes. This is white Russian kale. I had some aphid and caterpillars on them, but I've been spraying the undersides of the leaves with the hose, and I think I got them all knocked off. These are Brussels sprouts, Catskill Brussels sprouts. That's an old little gem lettuce in the back. I started that one indoors. I need to pull it. I was comparing how they grow in this bed that gets mostly shade to the bed where they get mostly sun, just to see the differences. Something's eating my Brussels sprouts, but I haven't found the worms yet. Oh, there's some feces. Crud. I'm going to have to go through and find what's causing that. Anyway, the purple leaf thing in the back is auric. What's it called? Ruby something. Red ruby, ruby red. Auric. It's supposed to taste like spinach. It's the first time growing that. These are plants that we had at the old house, mostly hostas, different kinds of irises, penstemons, and some other things in here. Before we moved, we put them into a clearing in our woods to hold them over. We have a whole bunch of plants out there, but we haven't been caring for them, so the weeds took over and most of the things died. But just a few weeks ago, last month, I started bringing some of the things back, and they're temporarily in holding here. And then next year, I'm turning the 4 corner beds, since they're mostly new beds here. I'm turning the 4 corner beds into flowers. Everything else will be vegetables, and then some of these will go into the other beds, and then I'll bring some more flowers here and start some more things from seeds. This bed is Henderson's lima bean. Shoot, daggone it, I got something going on with that too. Well, that's unfortunate. Anyway, these are Henderson's lima beans. It's an heirloom variety. That's a zucchini, Fort Hook zucchini, also growing that in a cage that I just made the other day. And at the base are homemade pickled cucumbers, and something's eating my cucumbers that I still haven't found yet, and it looks like it has a disease too. Daggone it. And then along the base of this side of the trellis, I'm growing Alaska mix nasturtiums, and I think this is my favorite nasturtium variety because it gets these gorgeous variegated leaves. Oh, there's a spider nest of some sort, egg sac. But I really like that nasturtium, but I only got 2 of them that germinated. Those were older seeds too. I think they were 4 years old. So, if you're still with me, I'll go through the 3 middle beds here. In each of the middle beds, I'm growing tomatoes and 4 pepper plants and herbs and alyssum. So in this one we have banana peppers. Got some peppers on there. I actually harvested the first one a few days ago. Got some marjoram, alyssum to attract predatory insects, flat leaf parsley, which I prefer to the curly leaf parsley. More pepper plants, same variety. This is large leaf cilantro. This is bush basil, same pepper plant. More bush basil, which I need to trim back. And this tomato is a variety called, what's it called? Black cherry. I've never grown the black cherry one before. I've grown a lot of heirloom tomatoes and some hybrid tomatoes. This is started out as a hybrid, but now it's open pollinated. They've worked with it long enough to make it open pollinated. And I've heard really good things about the flavor of it, so I'm looking forward to trying that for the first time. The center bed has 4 cute stuff, mini bell pepper plants. Has popolo, which is a Mexican herb. First time growing that. Has some California poppies, which hopefully I didn't get them planted too late. Hopefully they'll flower. I really like California poppies since I haven't grown them since my old house. This is a variety of tomato from Greece called Thessaloniki. Same pepper plants again, cute stuff, another popolo, more California poppy, and this is one of my favorite varieties of tomato plants called Matina. I direct seeded the same kind over in one of the other beds. So I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't grown that for a few years, and I really love that tomato. And this bed are 4 pepper plants, and they're all summer sun. So you got some fruit developing here. More alyssum. This is a different variety of bush basil. Has some long Italian name that I have no idea how to pronounce. So I'm just comparing the two. But I do prefer bush basil to the larger leafed basil. And actually both of these this year for some reason are producing a lot larger leaves than what they normally do when I've grown them in the past from the same seed packet, which I don't understand that. Anyway, this is another variety of cilantro. This one's called Leisure. I'm comparing the two varieties. This one's supposed to be more bolt resistant. I noticed this one tastes a little sweeter than the other one. So still comparing those. Going to see which one bolts first. This tomato, which is really overgrown and I need to trim back, is a variety called Gardener's Delight, and it's also one of my favorite tomato varieties. It's a cherry tomato, but the cherries get really big, so it's more like a salad type of tomato. But I really enjoy the flavor of that. It tastes like a big cherry tomato flavor in small cherries. And then there's another summer savory. And some more parsley. And here, since this is all new, from here over is all new, I've been busy weeding. I still have some things I couldn't get out by hand that I have to use a shovel to pull out. But I covered some of it with plastic because I was so busy pulling out the rest, and I knew it was going to take me a while. But the plastic shredded, so I need to pull up the plastic and pull those weeds out too. And I did have this all pulled, but these weeds are just growing like crazy with the heat of summer and the rain we've been getting. So I bought some more plastic I'm going to put down, and I hope that it solarizes the soil and tries to kill off some of the weed seed that's in the ground there. So that's what my garden looks like. I'm really happy to have a garden again. At our old house we had 1/3 of an acre, and we turned almost all of it into vegetable gardens, flower gardens. My husband had a large rock garden in the backyard with alpines and cacti and succulents. And then I've been making do with just those few beds over there for the last few years. And I'm just really excited to finally have the rest of my beds in. And this fall, when the temperatures turn cooler, then I'll put some seed down here. I bought some fescue to put down because it only needs to be mowed twice. So that's what I have now. Oh, my tomato cages. I've been making tomato cages and pepper cages the last few days. This was my first attempt at the pepper cages, and they're too tall for my needs, so I'm going to use these for the shorter varieties of peas in the future. I'm going to make some more. I have them up in the barn. I just have to finish them. And then I'm going to make some more cages that are this tall to finish putting on the peppers. I don't have them yet. And then there's a few cages that'll be this tall. When I grow peppers, they tend to get like really heavy with fruit, and they end up tipping over. So my hope is that these will help stabilize them a little bit. So I think that's everything. Oh, and I sowed some more. I'll walk around here. I sowed some more spinach and lettuces back here. My husband just used his tractor to clear this for me, so I have a walking path back here now. But I sowed some more spinaches. Oops, that's a weed. Spinaches and lettuce back here. I'm not sure how they're going to do with the heat of summer, but I figured they would be in the shade of the peas and they might do okay. So that's my garden. If you stuck with me this whole time while I babbled along, thank you, and happy gardening.